I am Hobo, reporting live from
And I'm
Hobo.
Matana Circus. I'm Matana Circus, live from the other end of a Discord.
Listen to our disembodied voices as we give you the knowledge you've been waiting over a week to find out who the first
Yes.
matchups will be. Uh,
But like any good showman, we can't just introduce who your people are and who the people are that are going to be playing against. First, there's a bit of housework. For anyone who's new to the stream and doesn't know what's going on, this is going to kick off the first week of matches for the Mentor tournament that Hobo and I are making, which is over 5 weeks long and it operates on a round robin league format. Any other parts that you want to add to that, Hobo?
nope.
Okay, sounds good. So I guess there are a couple of house cleaning things that we have to explain first before we get into the map and the pairings, and of course we're going to get into our own analysis afterwards. The first thing I want to get into is something that people have been asking about, and we're just going to clarify here. We need verification for any of the best of three games that are played, and verification can come from two of the following sources. Either a mentor who is not the mentor for either of the students playing can be a spectator that qualifies as one verified spectator, or Hobo and myself can be invited to watch the best of threes between any students.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair enough, right?
Yes, sir.
A couple of other things that go along with that. If
Uh,
you are the student, if your student is playing, the mentor cannot spectate that game. However, they can be in voice call, they can watch a Discord or a Twitch stream of their student playing, and they can give them live feedback.
I will also add that the matches can
Mhm.
be done anytime between Saturday and Friday. The only thing is, if you choose to have your best of three and those three be the matches, you can't do a second version of it down the week, and if you win that one, submit that instead. It has to be that first one you do, and it doesn't matter if you then go on to beat that your opponent later on. If you lose that best of three, it still is the match for the week.
Yes, there will be a Reddit post that will highlight who has gotten in their matches for the week or not. So Bobo and I are going to be casting these throughout future weekends. So for the sake of our frustration in the tournament at large, please try and get these games done before the time frame. I don't want to have to figure out people's matches 2 in the morning before we get to casting them 1 week from today. I think the next thing we're going to go over is the point system. So each of the students are going to play in accordance with the matchups that we're going to provide shortly. They're going to play against each other in a best of three. First 1 to 2 wins the match. However, because this is a league format, you will, instead of just recording you won the best of three or you lost the best of three, you will score points based on how well you do. So you will receive 1 point for each game you win, and then an additional 1 point for winning the match. So, Hobo, if the two of us play and you beat me 2-0, you're gonna get 3 points.
And you'll get 0.
But yep, and if you beat me 2-1, you're going to get 3 points, and I'll get 1 point. Because even though I lost the best of three, I did win a
Still,
game. But you
yes,
still
sir.
won the 2 games and then won the match.
Meaning that even if you do go on to lose your matchup, even if you at least get one win off of your opponent, you still have a leg up over some of the other contestants.
Yes, 1 is infinitely better than 0. 3 is obviously the ideal place to be at. Yeah, but JY is asking if we can reiterate. So, when you play your best of three, it's first to 2 wins. That's it. Okay, for the best of three. However, because this is a league format, you will score points based on how many games you win. So, no. If you get a 2-0, for instance, because this is a best of three, first to 2 wins, it wins a best of three. So if you win 2 games and lose 0, you will get 3 points. 1 for each game you won, and 1 for the fact that you won the match. Now let's say that the game goes 1-2. You lose the best of three, you win 1 game, but you lose 2 games. You will still get 1 point for winning one game. However, your opponent will get 3 points, 2 for winning each of, 1 point for each of the 2 games that they won, so that's 2 points, and then 1 for winning the overall match. So even though they would win the best of 3, you would receive 1 point and they would receive 3. This is done so that in the event of things like ties or no-shows, we don't have any wonkiness or any strange, oddities. And it just makes the tournament format run a bit more smoothly. Also makes it less likely that we're going to have ties and have to rely on things like tiebreakers and strength of opponent and so forth going on.
Yes, sir.
With that, JY, you're watching the stream right now. Does that answer all of your questions with regards to, or Hobo? Are you getting anyone in the Twitch chat who's asking their own questions?
I don't see any in the chat yet. Any questions there yet?
Okay, fair enough. All right, glad to hear. JY confirmed, JY the Snap, aka Thanos, says that he is good to go. So I'm going to post a link. Well, I'll let you go ahead and hit the next part, which I'm sure people are very interested in, introducing maybe the map and some of the people that people are going to be playing against.
Posted the wrong link, that's fine. So, to begin with, the map. The map, I have already told a couple of people who have asked. I believe this was actually announced on Wednesday somewhere, but the map is going to be Silent Fjord. Originally, this was supposed to be the map that was supposed to be played for the entire duration, but after talking with a lot of the participants, we decided to change it to instead be one map each week, with the finals week being a pool of the 4 maps used in the other 4 weeks.
Yes. Some characteristics about Silent Fjord for those of you who haven't played it before.
I can actually pull up the map now if people want that while you talk.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. What's great about Silent Fjord is it does allow for aggressive options because you can't as easily make a full wall in the natural. So more aggressive options are certainly a possibility. Your fast expansion is not guaranteed, particularly if you are a mech player. This tends to lend towards strengths for Beast early on. However, there are also various high ground locations throughout the map, and they're somewhat spread out. So you can also take I've seen very long Rax versus Mech games on this map. The third base location is a little awkward for Rax players, and so it seems to be a Beast paradise, but again, all of those hills and areas make things like airship play incredibly powerful.
There is another hidden advantage, too.
Okay.
There is a couple spots where you can sneak catapults without an airship and do a lot of damage. I will not point out where they are, but the map does have some hidden benefits towards the mech player in that regard.
I see. So I'm looking forward to what everyone is going to come up with when they're playing on Silent Fjord. A lot of people ask, what about Ravaged? And frankly, everyone plays a lot of Ravaged. So that's
there was almost 1,000 plays of Ravaged last week.
That's pretty good, 1,000 plays of Ravaged. I don't think I've seen a number hit that high for a map in quite a while. Hopefully we get to about, I wouldn't say 1,000, but at least like 500-600 plays of Silent Fjord, people grinding on that map now as they move into the matchups that they're going to be having throughout the week. And speaking of which, JY suggests that Ravaged should be the final tourney map or let the players choose at that point. We're not at that point yet, though. But moving on, I'm sure people will be practicing a lot, not only for this map, but specifically for their opponents.
By the way, for anyone watching the stream right now, I can't see the in-game lobby chat, but if you send it on the stream chat, I will be able to see that. As I'm in the editor right now, looking at the map.
Understand. I will say what I see over here on this end. So we have the matchups for week 1, and they are prepared. Are you ready? Everyone who's watching should be. Are you ready, Hobo? Are you prepared?
I would be fine with like a coffee break for a couple minutes, but actually, you know what? Let's go into it.
Okay.
You guys waited a week. Let's give it.
Now, all we're gonna do for now, so that Hobo can go get his coffee break, is we're going to just say what the matchups are, and then we'll do analysis thereafter. So we're not going to bog this section down too much. So for week 1, Team Rhinus and Durpo have to face the 2 following opponents. Storm, who is with Felipe Brazil as his student, and AC with his student of JY.
So we already know one of JY's opponents.
There we go. There we go. Now, some of these are going to be repeated. However, we're going to say them again anyways so that people understand, who am I playing against? They don't want to have to figure it out from the back end. So obviously, AC and JY are fighting off against Team Rhinus and Durpo. But AC and JY's other matchup is versus Prankster Gangster and Ruda. Moving on to our third contestant.
I'm going to be putting these into the stream chat as you say them, just as a heads up.
Oh, okay. Oh, you will be?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
into the stream chat for anyone interested.
And don't worry if you miss this. There will be a Reddit post that makes sure that you understand who your opponents are for the entire week, as well as the things that we've gone over heretofore. The third opponent, the third member of the Mentor Tournament, Physics Fan mentoring Weird Rat, is going to go up against Satsit Ananda and Doomster. Weird Rat and Physics Fan will also be playing this week against Prankster Gangster and Ruda. So that's both of Prankster Gangster's matchups, as it turns out. For the fourth individual, or for the fourth team, rather, we have Glaba and Thurks. They're going to be facing off against Norm and Felipe Brazil. Thurks will also be fighting off alongside Glaba against Baby Mite and Human. Now, at this point, we're going to start putting the matchups in reverse again. This will be a bit of repetition, but it's good for everyone to know. Human and Baby Mite will be fighting Glaba and Thurks. Then Human and Baby Mite will be fighting Satsit Ananda and Doomster. We already went over his matchups, but it bears repeating. Prankster Gangster and Ruda will be fighting off against AC and JY. They will also be up against Physics Fan and Weird Rat. Then Norm and Felipe Brazil will be up against Rhinus and Durpo. Hello on stream. Hello. Norm and Felipe Brazil will be versus Glaba and Thurks. And then get back to Satsit Ananda and and Doomster's matchups. They will be facing off against Team Physics Fan and Weird Rat. They will also be facing off against Human and Baby Mite. Again, if you missed any of this, don't worry. All of this will be posted on a Reddit link that we will provide later. You may even be pinned because, Hobo, it turns out I have that power. We can do that.
Wonderful.
Yes, indeed. Now, you know what else is wonderful? Before we just go full bore into the analysis section, that's going to take a long time. What do you think about grabbing some coffee?
I've been drinking this whole time.
Oh, you've been drinking coffee? I thought you had to go get the coffee. You had it the whole time?
I had it. I was able to drink it while copy-pasting all these matchups.
Wait a second. So you have coffee and I have water. Wait a second. I feel horribly cheated. Let me take a swig of water.
Hobo's living large over here.
Oh, of course. Of course. The last stream, I didn't have water or anything to drink nearby. And I was like, oh, my throat's kind of parched. I don't know how people do this streaming for 8 hours thing. It's quite impressive, actually. Now that we've gone past that, it's time. Everyone crack your knuckles. Ready? Yep, that sounded ominous. Time for analysis. So, Hobo.
Don't know if anyone just heard my knuckles.
Oh.
Tried to crack them into them.
You can crack them.
I tried to crack them into the microphone. Don't know how that turned out.
I did not hear it, but I will take your word for it. There was a loud and riveting crack of thunder, as it turns out.
We'll do it D&D style. I rolled a nat 20.
Okay. Um, let's see. I guess that makes me the GM in this case, right? Well, you crack your knuckles, and the force of it is so ominous, awe-inspiring, and against all laws of physiognomy that the people you're fighting off against know of, that inexplicably they turn and run and crown you the crown prince of Knuckledom.
So is this the
I don't
part where
know.
we start doing our own best of three, or are we now doing the analysis?
I say we do the analysis. I say it won't take long. It will definitely take some time. Let's go ahead and do it
It
though.
would be
So,
quicker than
okay.
the best of three.
It, would it though?
Uh,
It probably would.
Probably, but I think I usually play a lot of longer games. Starting right
Okay.
off into the first pair up, uh, how about we start with just going down the line? It means we don't need to do every pair each time, but
Yes.
the Renus Durpo matchups.
Okay, so the first one I'm looking at is Durpo versus Felipe Brazil. And I'm just going to say I've spectated some games where Durpo has trolled quite a number of the other students inside of this tournament with his own builds. And I don't know if that's too much for Felipe Brazil to overcome. Felipe seems pretty strong in like Rax versus Rax in like a standard straight up fight where micro and macro isn't quite as
He
isn't
definitely
quite
goes
as
down the norm
potent, isn't
method.
quite as yeah, he does go down the Norm method, but the problem with that, right, is that I don't doubt Norm's coaching. I bet Norm is doing a great job. I've seen praise from Felipe Brazil of Norm's capability and how far he's grown, and that's great. The
He's also
problem
been
is
very
that
active on the Discord.
yes, the problem is that Durpo is I'm not going to say that giant catapult ball pilots itself. That's disrespectful to the efforts that Durpo is going through. But when you're talking about trying to teach someone little war game, there's a big difference between we're going to play Rax versus Rax and this is the normal setup to this is Rax versus Mech, which is almost certainly what Felipe is going to be fighting off against. And if people now are still trying to figure out how to deal with that, like you said, even the Rhinus triangle is still close enough to the Rhinus ball. So I think that Durpo is going to clutch this one out. I don't see how Felipe Brazil actually even gets a game because again, Felipe Brazil is under Norm's tutelage, right? And is Norm a person that we know of who really practices like double racks Raider cheese or anything like that?
Norm's not one that really deviates too far from the most cheese I've seen him do. Really is Raider drops. Excuse me.
Right. And the problem that I have here is that Felipe Brazil is going to be trying to bring a solid style in a matchup where you actually need a lot of guile, micro, and positioning. And just being solid is like if you're just trying to be solid, Mech is way better at being just solid than you are. Um, so I think that Durpo takes this 2-0. Here's the thing. I actually think it
I do
brings
think it
spice if we
will
just say
be
what the matchup
2-1.
is going to be. You think it'll be 2-1?
I
Okay.
think it will be.
What's the
I've
what's the what's,
One of the reasons
what's the
is
reasoning for one?
I've seen the Raider micro from Felipe. I think if he can get enough damage done early on, the standard rack style may be enough to beat Arena's Triangle. Now, he
Okay.
just needs to make sure that he doesn't have his army in a giant ball. He needs to at least come in waves and, better yet, try to surround. But it is doable.
Okay. I'm again it's also the map. Like if it were ravaged, okay, that's a bit more of an open map. The fact that it's on Silent Fjord
I
and
think
there's
that
such
gives
an
more
immediate
avenues for his
oh,
Raiders to get some damage in. As
I was
long
gonna go
as
the other way. I was gonna say that the airships and catapult drops are crazy. Okay. So you think 2-1?
I think 2-1
Okay.
at face
Fair
value.
enough. All right. Now we've got perhaps the most active person in the chat wants to know what we think of this, I'm sure. Urpo versus JY. Hobo, I ran
JY
over you last time. What do you think?
JY is very confident about this, I will say. Uh, he's made no secrets. He thinks he will beat almost anyone in this tournament, face down. That remains to be seen. We're going to be able to see this week if he can put his metal where his mouth is.
Yes. I actually think that if there was one that would go 2-1, it would be this. And I am edging it towards JY. And the reason I'm edging it towards JY is that I'm just gonna put it this way. I've heard not great things behind the scenes about how Durpo and Rhinus are working together, but there's no question that AC and JY are talking, and JY is practicing deliberately on his weaknesses. And I think that bodes really poorly for Durpo, just on a conceptual level. I
I
still
have
think that. Go on.
I have played JY a couple of times since the announcement. While I can't reveal his secrets, I do think that he has been improving.
Okay.
Uh, with that being said, it really will come down to can he react to the counter pressure.
So I'm willing to say JY takes it 2-1, but I'm willing to admit, like, uh, whoever loses will get one game this series. I just hate when people say it's too close to call, and I've seen enough things, behind the scenes and murmurs here and there. Like, I value the synergy between people in this kind of tournament very highly. So I think that JY has a lot to prove and then has the means to prove it as well. And he says in the chat he's going to go 2-0. Give me coins if it happens. Okay, we'll see what happens.
I'm not much of a gambler myself.
Where do you put it? How do you think this is going to go?
I think it's going to be a 1-1, and the second game, if it goes into late game, I favor Durpo. If it's early game, I favor JY.
Okay.
So it's going to come down to the length, really.
Okay. So you agree, though, that the same idea is that there's going to be a game taken either way. Okay.
I agree.
Very interesting. We don't have to go over ACJY versus Rhinus Durpo because we just did that. But I believe the next matchup is AC and JY versus Prankster Gangster and Ruda.
I've actually not seen Ruda, but if he's learning anything from Prankster, I don't know if anyone else knows this, but I just did a best of 3 with Prankster the other day, and lost handedly 1-2. So, if he's helping his protege learn at anywhere near the rate he is, then JY might have some competition.
So, we could speculate that Prankster Gangster is this guy who plays beasts a lot. If there is synergy happening between the two of them, if the mentor-student relationship is working out well, we could expect that Prankster Gangster is more about Beast, because that seems to be what he plays and what he's comfortable with. And yeah, as you mentioned, like, Prankster Gangster is on the grind and on the come up. I will say for Ruda, I don't know if Ruda has been logging in on alts or as a guest, but the name Ruda isn't one that I've seen. However, I do.
He's on right now.
Oh, sick. He's not one I've seen on often. And of course, this is the stream where we're talking about it, so I'm not too surprised. I'll just put it this way for JY. Like, I think the things that Prankster Gangster would emphasize as a coach are exactly the kinds of things that he would be tested most heavily against for Ruda. Does that make sense? Like, if Ruda is learning the Prankster Gangster, like Wolf Snake, Blood, just have a bunch of things and keep pushing on and being aggressive, I don't know how JY is going to deal with that. Like, Rax versus Beast, if that's the way that the matchup goes, can feel very overwhelming. You combine that with what map we're going to be on, I've got to give this to Ruda. You know what? I'm even going to give it to Ruda too. Just I can't go into all the reasons why, but some of the things that I've just seen are impressive. Let's put it that way. Yeah, JY just says, what? It's auto. I can't believe this. I gave you the 2-0 over Durpo. He's so mad right now.
He is a bit livid. Prankster can beat me, I can beat you, so being able to beat a person doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win a certain matchup, is how I would explain that, JY.
Okay. How would you sit on JY and Ruda?
I honestly haven't seen much of Ruda. I've never played him. I don't think I've seen a replay with him in a while. Uh, that being said, I think it's a bit more of a wild card. I don't think I can put any kind of wager on either side. If Ruda plays like Prankster, I think he would be favored against JY. But if he doesn't, then JY may have the knowledge and mechanical advantage, giving him a 2-0.
Okay. It's also the fact that if it becomes a Beast versus Rax, I feel like that's particularly good for the Beast player just because of how exposed the third base is. But here's the thing, I'll be willing to admit, like, I just know a couple of things about this matchup, but I'm nothing too concrete. Like, let's just put it this way. I don't have as much confidence in my 2-0 prediction for this as I did in some of my earlier predictions. I think that covers that. What do you think of the next one? Turks versus Felipe Brazil.
Uh, it will be interesting to see. Thurks had a bit of a rough run when it came to the Team League tournament. It's going to be interesting to see if he can start to backtrack from that, learn from what happened with those matchups, and try to pull off some wins here. I think if Felipe plays that very standard, very sturdy rack style that Norm is known for, then it could be an issue for Thurks. But at the same time, if Thurks can not quite abuse but get around some of the knowledge gaps that Felipe may have by not playing against a lot of Beast or Mech, or I don't know if Felipe scouts enough. If he can just get around some of those knowledge gaps, I think he can use the confusion as a way to stomp. That being said, I think this will go 2-1 in favor of Thurks.
I'm just going to call another 2-0 here for Thurks. And here's the thing. Like, behind the scenes, he's beaten Baba. He's beaten Yummy Blah Blah. He's just put together a run of form that is almost unprecedented in how high the growth is. And the thing is with that is, like, here's the thing. Against a player like that, he seems... his I don't want to give it anything too far away, but his growth seems spotty from what I've seen behind the scenes. The issue is the exact spot where it's not spotty is in just playing a standard straight up game. And the problem is Norm is the mentor for Felipe Brazil. And I feel like that's going to be the most demoralizing aspect is that, something you see in boxing a lot is when two people fight, you want to clash up of styles. You don't want to clash where one person, where both people have the same strengths, because then the person who's 5% better totally dominates. Well, not only do they win, they totally dominate it. It looks horribly one-sided, and the other person is just bodied ridiculously. And I think actually that against some of the other people on this list, Felipe Brazil learning that sturdy style under Norm is going to do wonders for him. It's going to do a lot of good, but not in this week's matchup, because I think Thurks can do that to a level above what Felipe Brazil can grow into.
So, as a fun fact along that part, have you ever heard of the Lancaster's Law?
I have not heard of the Lancaster's Law. What is it?
So, the Lancaster's Law is a law that was developed, I believe, in 1916. It's a way to calculate who's going to win a battle. Let's say you have 1,000 dudes against 1,000 dudes with a certain strength factor. The strength factor can be what tools they have, what weapons they have, what kind of training they have, what's their moral status, all that. And you can essentially put all of the factors that go into their fighting strength into some coefficient. So you multiply your numbers by your coefficient, and you put it through Lancaster's Law against another opponent with however many people they have with their strength coefficient, and you can predict your losses. And just for a reference, in Age of Empires, 25 light cavalry against 20 light cavalry, you end up with, I want to say, 21 or 19 light cavalry on the side of 25 and 0 on the other side.
Okay. So you don't end up with 0, which is what people would naturally expect.
It's a way that basically says, due to your slight advantage, you're going to scale and have a fraction the number of losses. And that just kind of ties into your whole argument about one person with A strength and second person with the exact same strength, but 5% better. it translates into
Yes.
such a huge difference because of the Lancaster's law.
Yeah. And that I didn't know that before, but that's perfect because I would just say that like I think that Felipe Brazil here is a victim of Lancaster's law because I don't know what Felipe does better than Thurks. And that's normally where you look for the mismatch or the out, especially in a best of three. If this were best of one, I would still give it to Thurks, but anything can happen in best of one. The fact that it's best of three, I just don't see how Felipe is going to claw. Like, I don't see how he's going to pull a rabbit out of the hat and then do it again. And it would really be a miracle to get a game in this scenario.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I don't think I do very well in best of ones.
Okay.
Best of threes is where it's at.
Yeah, best of three is a big deal. So we're going to do, the next one is going to be Thurks versus Glamba and Thurks versus Human and Baby Might. Here's the thing. I think that if Thurks were playing against someone who had like fully sucked up Human's like crazy non-factional builds, where people intermingle the ways, then yeah, that would be something interesting. There would be something to play for here. But Baby Might, I've seen games with Baby Might. There's not even a universe where he's in the same level as Thurks. Like, I can't even imagine what
I do
you would
think
have to give.
Baby Might is getting better, but I don't see him getting a game off of Thurks at his current state.
No, no, no. And here's the thing, Baby might become the most improved player, but that has to acknowledge the fact that he's starting from a lower skill level than most, if not everyone in this tournament. And that is not a place you want to be up against a person who's been here for years, who's finally like either gotten through things psychologically or has better hand speed now or has proper mentoring. Like, I don't know what it is that has put Thurks together, but if Baby Might's on his own small come up, Thurks' come up is way bigger. Like, he went from a guy that, Physics Fan and I and people like that were stomping on with regularity to a guy who's beating Yummy Blabla and Glaba and practicing against AC. Like, it's not. No, I'm sorry, Baby Might. Like, do the best that you can, but I don't see it happening this week. So there's no point.
I definitely agree there.
Yeah, do you think it's 2-0 in favor of Thurks then?
I do think it's 2-0 in favor of Thurks, and that actually brings us on to the next matchup, skipping the Baby Might versus Thurks, and going straight into Baby Might versus Satsit, Ananda, and Doomster. Once again, we have a player that I think has been here a decently long time, Doomster, who's now got a wonderful mentor. I haven't seen a lot of games with him. I did see a couple games where he was a little bit iffy. He did win his matchups that he sent me, but it was still pretty close against Felipe. So with that in mind, I do think there is a possibility if over the course of this week, Baby Mike can get past a couple of the hurdles that he has for himself, making sure he expands when he's supposed to, making sure he doesn't queue up too many things. I think there is a possibility of him getting one game off, but I do have to favor Doomster in this case.
I've also seen a couple of things that Doomster has done in terms of micro, and I know a couple of things about what his practice looks like because I talked to Satset and Ananda quite a bit. And I've also seen plenty of games of Baby Might. And again, I still think that this is a 2-0 in favor of Doomster.
2-0, possibly 2-1 for me.
The thing is, I would give maybe, like, if you could put it as not 2-1, but like 2/0.25, that would appropriately give, like, the way that I see a possibility of Baby Might cheesing one game. The problem is I've just seen Doomster's micro, and it's just too much for Baby Might. Like, that one skill alone might actually be too much for Baby Might. So I'm going to have to give it to Doomster here. I think it is a 2-0. Just because 2-1, I think it's banking on too much for 2-1. You said 2-0, maybe 2-1 for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So getting on with that, is this the final matchup? It may actually be the final matchup.
I believe there's two more.
Yeah, there's a couple more.
We haven't gone over either of Weird Rat's games.
Yes, good point. So, so the next one we have to talk about then is uh,
Prankster
Gangster
Gangster and Ruda.
Ruda versus his expanded Weird Rat, right?
hmm Again, I
So,
haven't seen anything from Ruda. I have
mhm.
seen Weird Rat. I've not seen him since I've played him. But if he was able to overcome his weaknesses, he might have a decent shot. Again, though, I don't know anything about Ruda, so I can't say to his level of play.
Okay, so the issue here is that I think I just lost the space. So the issue with Ruda and Weird Rat is as follows. Like I saw the game that you had against Weird Rat, where it went quite long. And he lost, but he didn't seem hopelessly out of place. I'm concerned. I think that Ruda is going to make a good accounting for themselves in the opening part. Just because if they are reaching from Prankster Gangster's wheelhouse of play, we're gonna see this like aggressive wolf snake, just more units, more. The problem is that Weird Rat is a person who was very comfortable getting to or seemed comfortable enough getting to the end of the game and then really struggled once it got to, okay, the armies are here. What's the decision making section? The problem is that I don't know if Ruda knows where to go next. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, once you're on Wolf Snake, where do you go from there? Do you
hmm
go dragons? Do you go werewolves? How do you incorporate all of this tech? What happens if it's a split map scenario and you have to focus on multitasking and not just balling over your opponent by literally having more units? Like, do you know how to manage that stage of the fight? I will say that Weird Rat has shown some weaknesses and some vulnerabilities that make me think that Ruda will get a game off of him. But I have to give it to Weird Rat's combination of experience and the fact that he naturally seems to go to the place that Ruda is trying to crush people in, anyways. So I think that this is going to be a 2-1 in favor of Weird Rat.
Just looking at the chat for a moment here.
Okay. With that, I think that's, unless you have any final thoughts with regards to that matchup, I think that's good. The rest are copies. We've been over Felipe Brazil's matchups against Gerbo and
Doomster
Thirst.
versus Weird Rat.
Did we did we not do that? No, we didn't. Okay, so Doomster versus Weird Rat. Here's the thing with Doomster versus Weird Rat. I again think here's the matchup I want to see, right? Here's the matchup that would be cool for me to see. It won't happen this week, but Doomster versus Ruda. And the reason is that I'm going to give much the same reasons for Weird Rat to take this 2-1 over Doomster that I give it for him to take it 2-1 over Ruda. Is that Doomster is this person who has a decent bit of micro in him, but Weird Rat isn't someone who's going to be completely destroyed by that, unlike Doomster's other opponents in Baby Mine. And Weird Rat's this person who can take the game to this long, drawn out section, and it's there that experience and decision making really shines. Now, there is one benefit to that, which is I do believe that Satchidananda's late game decision making when he's observing or coaching games is quite good. It's actually fairly different from what he does as a player. Like when he has that like global perspective, it really helps. The
hmm
problem is, I don't think that he's had enough time with Doomster to reach all of those aspects that he wants to. Like you're talking about building up someone from the beginning and then the mid game and then the end game. And the end game is the hardest thing to get to because so few games, one, get there, and two, so few games get to a point where decision making is the primary factor in the loss, as opposed to micro, macro, the basic like ABC build order. So I
hmm
think that again, Weird Rat is just going to take this to a point where experience outshines improvement, and Doomster will have long games and have a good accounting for themselves. But I think Weird Rat takes it 2-1.
I do want to add just a couple more things as we finish up with the player versus matchup announcements or analysis. A couple things being mentors, please remember that you actually have to work with your students if you want to receive the recognition and be included in future events. It's not just work with them for the first week, first 2 weeks, and then let them be off, do their thing. It is ideal that you try to just keep working with them because there's always room for improvement. The other thing is, once you finish your matches and have all the games submitted, upon the next Saturday when we go to Caslim is when we're going to give out the 500 gold to each of the students participating.
Yes, absolutely. JY has an interesting perspective. He said he wouldn't be surprised if everything went 2-0.
Well, there's a difference between theory crafting and the actual event. So a lot of for example, a lot of the 2-1s, if they went on to a third game, could very well go 2-1, but what if the first 2 games are the ones that the person wins? Just for example, looking at the Baby Might matchup.
Yes. There's also value in providing the context for what circumstances under which something could go to a 2-1. So let's say, for instance, you don't believe that Weird Rat versus Doomster will be a 2-1. It'll just be a 2-0. But I do believe that framing it as an appropriate skill, like players want to take it to a certain skill level, but Weird Rat's experience will mean that he'll win in the later game. That has some value as analysis, even if the actual number of the score ends up not being correct. We'll have more to go off of after this first week of games finishes up and we cast them, because then we'll know more about the players, their strengths, like what weaknesses do they show. Trust me, Hobo and I are going to have something like 6 to 8 hours of non-stop casting. We're going to get really familiar with all of these players over the course of this event.
Yes, sir.
I think that's fair enough. So, things that we're going to do hereafter. There's going to be a Reddit thread that's going to explain the current map and the current pairings, as well as saying whether or not we've gotten in replays for the best of 3 from a verified individual. So, again, verified individuals, you have to have one for the best of 3 to count. When you play the best of 3, play all 3 games at the same time. Or play them consecutively, rather.
Feel free to direct message myself or Itano or any of the other mentors when you are ready to have your best of 3.
Yes, absolutely. And the reason we want another person there is just in case someone drops because of lag or because, and this, that, or any other number of things. We're trying as best as possible to make everything go smoothly and above board. With that, I am not in control of the Twitch chat at present. Any questions?
I would play the Jeopardy theme here, but don't want the stream to be muted.
Fair enough.
So instead, I ask everyone to imagine the Jeopardy theme playing in the background as you synthesize your questions. Is the Family Guy music protected?
No.
There we go.
I'm not a Family Guy guy.
Well, if it's not protected, then there we go. So everyone start asking questions before I start playing Family Guy.
Yeah. Any questions? This is your Q&A opportunity. You can ask us anything. Last week, people asked who would win in a fight, and I confirmed that Hobo would win in a best of 3 little war game, and I would win in the best of 1 of fisticuffs. Any interesting questions? You are more than welcome to entertain us with your zany wonders. Any players who don't know what their matchups are and want us to say what they are again? Because again, we will be posting this on the Reddit alongside a list of what the map is, what the maps are, what the matchups are, and what information we've received in terms of replays from each of you.
Felipe. Norm is asking who Felipe is going to play. Felipe will be
Excellent.
playing. Hold on while I pull the list back up.
Yep.
Durbo and Thirst. So we were talking about last stream getting an unpaid intern to do all the stuff that us as unpaid interns are currently doing. We could just have JY be the scribe and send everything out to everyone. Before he snaps us all out of existence in the next blip.
For anyone who doesn't get it, his name in game is JY the Snap. You see what we did there?
Oh, looks like he's... Oh, wonderful. We now have an unpaid, willing intern.
Yes, add them to the list of growing unpaid interns. I would
Well,
make a
not
joke
all of
about
us are
Anna.
unpaid now. I don't know if
Oh,
I can spread this link or not. I believe you started a Patreon recently for some of your little wargame content. Is that true?
I did. Yes, I did. Patreon.com/Etano Circus. I also now have my own YouTube channel. I just didn't think this was the best venue to bring it up, but since you segued into it, I'm more than happy to continue the way.
Well, the reason I bring it up is a lot of things happening in this game, both behind the scenes and publicly, have been mostly led by you. From organizing this stream to helping set up basically all the matchups and contacting a lot of people. You do a lot for the community, along with work crazy hours everywhere else, and generally I don't know if you even sleep. So just to give out a little recognition towards that.
Okay,
The
I
man who does
appreciate it.
not sleep, Itano Circus, can get dirty Itano money, and might
Dude, of
actually be one of
course.
the few paid people for a little war game.
That would be crazy good. Again, it's more about if you look on there and you see anything in the tiers that you want, I would recommend them. There is a tier called Dirty Atano Money, so you know I'm about it, but I would recommend like see if there isn't a tier a little bit lower than that. You can do things like suggest content or do collaborative work with me, or you can get a monthly, every month you can get a combination replay pack and blooper reels pack where you can see all of the takes that I've done for all of my videos that didn't quite make it to YouTube. So, so if you want to see someone bungle a million intros, you're more than welcome to try.
So, with that little bit of recognition off to the side, I think that's it for the introduction of the first week. I want to wish a lot of the players luck. So just again to recap some of the information we went over, the score system is going to be on the basis of how many games you win and how many matchups you win, with equal 1 point for each individual game you win, 1 point for each individual matchup you win. So in total, you can get 6 points per week if you win both or 2 matches in your best of threes for both ones, winning both best of threes. Just going back up to here for just a moment. For games to be verified, it needs a mentor who is not a mentor to the participants watching the game as a spectator, or myself or Itano. The mentors for the students can be watching through some kind of stream, whether it's through Twitch or even just Discord screen share. Replays, the deadline will be the end of Friday or to early Saturday. The games have to be played before the end of Friday, though. The map is Silent Fjord. The pairings we have just gone over. Again, I'm not going to relist them. I do want to not completely destroy my voice saying the 8 matchups and trying to figure out which ones have been said or not. And
Yes.
they will all be streamed.
And again, there will be a Reddit post that puts all of these matchups, what the map is, the rules for what you are required to have in terms of a spectator, etc., on there. If you have any questions, PM myself or Hobo in game, or on here, or on Discord. If you're not part of the Discord and you're in this stream, let me go ahead and get you. Actually, you have to get a link. I don't even think I'm a mod in your chat. I cannot guarantee that I am.
What is the link I'm looking for?
The link for the Discord, in case
yes.
anyone here is new.
I'm going to send that to the stream chat right now. Uh, and with that, I believe that is everything we wanted to go over today. Uh,
I
there
do
is
have a
another
question.
announcement, though. The
Oh,
I believe Vizix is hosting a tournament that is starting today, and I think you are a participant.
I'm not a participant, but I will be casting as many games as I can get my hands on. That'll start at 5 p.m. EST. And again, this is going to be Physics Fans February Cup. You can still sign in if you have not signed in, but signups will close and all pre-work will be done 2 hours before the event at 3 p.m. EST. If you want to sign up to the event, go to the subreddit. There is a link there by Physics Fan. There's also a video that's done for the Little War Game RTS channel that says Physics Fan and Physics announces the February Cup. There is a link to the tournament inside the description box of that video. And if you see Physics Fan, say hi.
With that, I believe we have everything covered for today. What
I
we
believe
can
we
do
do.
right now is
Ooh.
close this stream up a little bit early and then reconvene in just a couple of minutes, and maybe we can talk about some of the things going on in Vizix tournament.
Yes, I am very excited to do that actually. But
Okay.
with that, thank you everyone for checking in. We're going to drink coffee and water as our beverages of choice. We're going to disappear for a few minutes, upload a Reddit post, and then we will talk to you again very soon.
Awesome. Take care, guys.